I rise to support this motion, and I would just like to take a moment to commend the great work that the member for Forrest does in educating young people. The member for Forrest is saving lives, absolutely, and I also commend the member for Forrest's work in advocating very strongly in this parliament and ensuring this parliament knows the importance of keeping our children safe online. And the Nick Xenophon team was also instrumental in bringing about Carly's Law with the government. We worked very closely with government to ensure Carly's Law got through the parliament because Carly was a bright and beautiful young girl in my electorate and she had her life taken away from her. And that was 10 years ago. She was 15 years of age, and as the member for Forrest has already told Carly's story, it was a 50-year-old pedophile who lied to her. He was pretending to be a sensitive, charismatic 18-year-old musician, and he was not. And the problem in that case that it wasn't until the passing of Carly's Law that none of the murderer's online behaviour was illegal. And when this pedophile was finally arrested for Carly's murder, detectives found him at home chatting to a 14-year-old girl in Western Australia using one of 200 fake online identities he created to meet young girls. Carly's Law makes it an offence to prepare or plan to cause harm, procure or engage in sexual activity with a person under 16 years of age, and this includes lying about your age online as part of that process. Earlier versions of this bill were introduced by my colleagues, former Senators Nick Xenophon and Sky Kokoschki-Moore. The government's version of Carly's Law was achieved in consultation with my former Senate colleagues, with the aim to avoid any unintended consequences raised during the Senate inquiry process in relation to those earlier versions. Carly's Law closes some identified gaps in existing legislation. Just a month after this legislation was passed, last year, police in South Australia arrested a man who was allegedly pretending to be a teenage girl online in order to groom a minor. Through this law, we have prevented harm to at least one child, and I have no doubt we have given police another tool to prevent harm to thousands more. Carly's Law is a legacy, and it's just part of the work accomplished by the Nick Xenophon team in supporting the Carly Ryan Foundation, who, month after month are cobbling together pennies so that they can continue the great work they do. This foundation was set up by Carly's mother Sonia in 2010 to raise awareness among young people of online dangers, and it is an organisation run entirely by volunteers. Sonia gives presentations at school and is often approached by young people to share their online experiences. And I have been present at some of those presentations, and you could hear a pin drop in the room, which is quite unusual in a room full of teenagers. Sonia does what she can to support young people, and she steers them in the appropriate direction for help. Fortunately, there is more assistance today, including the Australian Federal Police Cyber Safety Program, ThinkUKnow, and this is indeed an excellent program. But governments can only do so much. A fortnight ago, I was invited to the official launch of a new business in my electorate called Cybersafe Families. Cybersafe Families is operated by Chris and Michelle Green from the Adelaide Hills, and they draw on more than 20 years of experience working in the education and counselling and technology sectors. And they draw on their experiences as parents. And Cybersafe Families provides a range of education, training and counselling services to help young families, and it's been certified by the E-Safety Commissioner. Government has an important role to play in cyber safety awareness, but parents need to step up too. As a parent, I know it's not always easy. Years ago, when my children were young, we were told keep the computer in a safe place. We were told, to tell your children about stranger danger, about ensuring that in the park they weren't talking to strangers, but ultimately with iPhones, we are letting strangers into our homes. And that has happened in my family too, with my daughter singing into a hairbrush and putting things on YouTube to share with her friends, and I had to have that very awkward conversation with her about who was exactly watching and what their intentions were. So I would just like to close in commending the member for Forrest in what she is doing in this, and I hope that we continue to keep these conversations in the Parliament. We must remain ever vigilant as members of Parliament and as parents, ensuring that our most vulnerable young Australians have a safe and secure and happy childhood. Thank you.